All right, everybody. Hope y'all are having a great Saturday morning. I got an email to record a video from the Thanksgiving break homework. This is one of the multiple choice questions on the common assessment part. And they give us this picture and they ask us which of these 1, 2, 3 equations could match this. Let's start with the first one, sine of 4x. When I look at this graph, I notice that the midline is max plus min divided by 2. 1 plus negative 1 is 0. Divided by 2 is 0. So the midline is y equals 0. The amplitude is the distance from the belt upstairs to the head, which is 1. And the period is, from negative pi over 4 all the way to pi over 4. So this is, how much is this distance? Well, we start here, go down to the minimum, up to the maximum, back to where we started. This distance is negative pi over 4, plus this distance is pi over 4, plus pi over 4. This is pi over 2, which remember has to equal 2 pi over b. Cross multiply b pi equals 4 pi, so b equals 4. So when I look at that, this one could be right. We have a midline of 0, right, because it's plus 0. We have an amplitude of 1. We have a b value of 4. Let's just be safe and plug in. When x is 0, right, the graph goes through the origin. I plug in 0 here. Sine of 0 is 0, so that's good. Let's just try plugging in a positive number. I don't know, call it something like, right here, by the way, we have pi over 8 and negative pi over 8. So if we plug in pi over 8, sine of 4 times pi over 8, is that still showing up? Yes, it is, which is equal to 4 sine of 4 pi over 8, which is equal to sine of pi over 2, which is equal to 1, which is what it should be. So this is great. Let's take a look at this one. Cosine of 4x minus pi over 2. Let me rewrite this as cosine of, factor out the 4x minus pi over 8. Remember how we factor, let me erase this and clear it up a little bit. Remember the factoring is basically we are dividing both of these by 4. 4x divided by 4 is x. Pi over 2 divided by 4 is pi over 8. So let's take a look. This one has a midline of 0, that's good. Amplitude of 1, that's good. B value of 4, that's good. Let's plug in 0. 0 minus pi over 8 is negative pi over 8. Negative pi over 8 times 4 is negative pi over 2. The cosine of negative pi over 2 is absolutely 0. Let's plug in pi over 8. Pi over 8 minus pi over 8 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. Cosine of 0 is 1, which is absolutely right. By the way, there might be some question as to be like, how did you know, Mr. S, that this was pi over 8 and this was negative pi over 8? That's a great question. The way I knew that is, remember, the period is pi over 2. If I divide pi over 2 by 4, I get pi over 8. Remember what I said in class one time, and I think I've mentioned it a couple times again. For the period, you always divide the period by 4. Pi over 2 divided by 4 is pi over 8. And that means every pi over 8 units, you're going to have a key point. So you start at 0, 0 plus pi over 8, pi over 8, pi over 8 plus pi over 8, pi over 4. 0 minus pi over 8, negative pi over 8, negative pi over 8 minus pi over 8, negative pi over 4. If you think back to the original sine and cosine graph where the period is 2 pi divided by 4 is pi over 2. So every time we go over pi over 2 units, we have a key point. Think about where the key points are on the original sine and cosine graph. Let me draw that briefly here. I'll come back to this original problem and continue solving, but the key points for sine and cosine, here's sine is 0, pi over 2, add pi over 2, you get pi, add pi over 2, you get 3 pi over 2, add pi, you get 2 pi. Same thing for cosine. 0, add pi over 2, you get pi over 2, add pi over 2, you get pi, add pi over 2, you get 3 pi over 2, add pi over 2, you get 2 pi. So every pi over 2, we have a key point. Where did pi over 2 come from? 2 pi, the period, divided by 4 is pi over 2. Apply this knowledge to this problem we have here. Well, the period is pi over 2. Pi over 2 divided by 4 is pi over 8. So every pi over 8, we have a key point. Anyways, coming back to the problem, we already showed that this one worked. If you need to rewind the video and see that again, feel free to. So now let's deal with this one. Negative sine 4 times x plus pi. Let me, in fact, clean this up a little bit because it might be a little bit blurry. So there's negative sine. And, all right, well, midline here is 0. That's good. Amplitude is absolute value of negative 1, which is 1. That's good. B value is 4. That's good. Let's see if we plug in 0, what happens. 0 plus pi is pi. 4 times pi is 4 pi. 4 pi is too big for the unit circle, so I'm going to minus 2 pi. That gets me 2 pi. Sine of 2 pi is 0. 0 times negative 1 is 0. So we're good. Let's plug in pi over 8 just to check. Pi over 8 plus pi, let me do this one out. Negative sine of 4 times pi over 8 plus pi. Let's keep solving. That's going to be negative sine of 4 times, remember this is really 8 pi over 8, so this will be 9 pi over 8. Let's keep on solving. Remember, we just got the common denominator here. So now we got negative sine of 4 times 9, this is 9 pi over 2. That's a little bit too big. I need to subtract 2 pi. So 9 pi over 2 minus 2 pi over 1 gets me 5 pi over 2. Still too big? Yup. Minus 2 pi again. Gets me pi over 2. So I'm going to rewrite this right here, or this right here, as negative sine of pi over 2. Sine of pi over 2 is 1, times negative 1 is negative 1. But remember, we plugged in pi over 8. That should be positive 1. We're getting negative 1. That is not good. So answer choice 3 does not work. So it is answer choices 1 and 2 only. Answer choices 1 and 2 only. Feel free to send me requests for more videos. And I hope this one is helpful in completing the homework.